Hello everybody and welcome back to Pokemon Emerald. As you might have guessed, today's protagonist is Mudkip, the last member of the Hoenn trio. He might be the most popular of the three, but I am not so sure about his odds. Typing is fine, but the stat spread is not the best. That low speed is what worries me in particular. A smart player would have chosen a nature that increases it, but I am not exactly the sharpest tool in the shed. Anyway, let's recap the rules a second. I can only use my starter in combat, I can't use any items from my bag in battle, I can't raise my evasion in any way, and I can't use cheats or glitches. The game starts off very well with an immediate crash, but fortunately I saved just before picking the starter, so I did not lose that much progress. After defeating the wild Zigzagoon, I gained a couple of levels because May can be pretty dangerous since I am sure that her Trico is much faster than me and so she has an advantage. The grunt in the forest is next. This fight is easy unless he starts spamming syntax. Today he played fair, so in a couple of attacks he went down too. After saving the Sylph guy, I reached the next town and here I was feeling a bit overconfident and challenged Roxanne immediately. My level was quite low, but since I have a decent super effective move, I thought the fight would be free. Her first two Geodudes get soaked and return to the Pokeball in one hit thanks to the double weakness to water, but Nosepass is a bit more resilient and manages to do a good chunk of damage to me with a couple of Rock Tombs. Ultimately, I can defeat it before getting KO'd, so that's the first gym in my pocket without too many issues. Next, I wanted to do the optional fight with May, but was very worried considering that Trico has Absorb, but then something strange happened. She hard switched for some reason, and I crit her starter, immediately sending it back where it came from. That's extremely lucky, but I'll take it. Not wanting to push my luck, I skipped Brawly for now and made my way to the next fight with some grunts. Their Pokémons are not very strong. The only thing that could be a problem is if they confuse me, but I am not sure if they even have a Supersonic or something like that. Anyway, they go down easily, and after having to listen to Archie for a while, I grinded a lot around town because the next fight is against May, and this one is not optional. I was fully expecting to lose a few times to her here because her starter evolved and has a lot more power. Still no Mega Drain though, thankfully. I leveled just enough to learn Takedown. It's not a great move considering the accuracy and recoil, but it's the best option I have for now. Somehow another crit swings in and saves the day. I do not believe in karma, but I might have to rethink about it after what happened with Watson. I was getting a bit too lucky, so he painted himself purple and restored balance to the universe. The main problem here is that Mudkip is only water type. It does not have the ground typing yet. I was hoping he would learn Mudshot at least, but that's exclusive to his evolution. I also made a pretty big mistake myself not learning mud sport. It's generally an awful move, but it could have come very in handy right about now. I tried him quite a few times, taking breaks every so often to level up a bit against wild Pokemons, but ended up losing a lot of times, until eventually at level 40 I was finally able to break through his electrified fence. After exploring the region and meeting the local population, we can cut to the volcano bit with the fight against Maxi. I was not too worried about him. I have an okay special attack that is 4 times super effective against his ace. I did not hit myself a lot of times in confusion either, so I swept easily through his team of Pokémons. Maxi wanted to make it last a little longer by spamming potions on Zubat, but it's not like he can hope in a miss, so that fight was only going to end in one way. Once we have climbed down the mountain, we can get to the next gym. This one is a fire type, so it should not be a problem for Mudkip, but I was a bit worried about the overheat and magnitude damages. This time I was the one overthinking the problem. Turns out that type matchups are very crucial in Pokemon. So Flannery's team took a loss, and this badge is mine too. While I was backtracking to reach our dad's gym, I quickly stopped by Brawly's since I am still missing his badge. As you might expect, he is not a big deal and is defeated very quickly, ending as barely more than a footnote in the script. After defeating half of the gyms in the region, we can start the normal one finally. In this one I lost once because of a misclick on my part, but other than that it went by quite smoothly. His first few Pokémons are able to endure a hit from me, so I ended up being confused by Tether Dance. Fortunately, I did not take myself out in the process and snapped out of it pretty quickly. As long as I reach slacking with a single HP, I should be fine, because if played properly, he should not be able to touch me. If you have Protect or a 2-turn move and are faster than him, you can make it so you are invincible when he attacks, and you can hurt him while he is skipping his turn. As long as you don't run out of PPs, slacking goes from very scary to extremely easy. Of course, not all Pokémons can abuse this weakness, so plan accordingly. Once we have surpassed our father, we are finally given the Surface Gem. This is not only good for exploration, but it means that I can finally override the water gun. After some grinding, we ended up in the Weather Institute. Here there is the usual Team Aqua admin. I just spammed Surf, even if it is resisted. Next is the last mandatory fight against our rival May. Unfortunately for her, at this point I kinda outskilled her and her team, and even if they have the type advantage, it does not really matter. I even skipped over teaching Ice Beam to give her more of a fighting chance. I soon had to regret that decision. Winona proved to be a bit stronger than I thought. Her Skarmory used one sand attack, and then things spiraled out of control until I lost. On the second attempt I tried to be more careful, using a Surf against it, so it will die in 2 hits and hopefully not use that move. For her other team members, I used Rollout since it is super effective. It was a bit annoying because Pelipper kept protecting, so I had to restart it multiple times. Secret Power would have been more convenient, but not that much better. Even with better gameplay, it was kinda close, but ultimately the victory was mine. After getting the badge and a useless TM from Winona, I have to make my way to the next town, where I can find May again. As usual, I did the optional fight against her, mostly for the XP, but I thought there was a small chance of her defeating me, since she has multiple grass types. To be fair, a crit from Leaf Blade might have taken me out, or at the very least put me in deep red HP. After defeating her for the last time, I climbed the Pokemon Cemetery, and after getting the key for Max's secret hideout, we have to backtrack and meet up with him. He is a bit too busy reviving the legendary to greet us properly, but once Groudon is up, he attacks us. This fight is a bit more dangerous than the previous one, because Crobat is surprisingly tanky, and with Confusion he can stop you quite easily. But today Confusion was not evil, so Maxi did not stand a chance against me. Next is the nameless Team Aqua admin, but I don't really have much to say about him. It was a simple sweep, if you can call it that, since he only has 2 Pokémons. The important part is the very long grind that followed, since I needed to be prepared for Tate and Liza. They might seem easy, since I sort of have the type advantage, but that's not exactly the case. Sure, Surf is super effective on 3 of their Pokémons, but between the spread damage and my bad special attack, Surf is not that strong. Then the 2 rocks use Sunny Day and Light Screen at the same time, so for 5 turns Surf is not going to do anything. I took quite a bit of punishment from a good number of Psychics, but I was able to outlast them. After conquering the Mystic Gym, the game gets a little easier for a while. The next thing we have to do is help Steven with the Team Magma guys. For this fight, I turned off my brain and just spammed Surf over and over again. It was not always the best choice, but considering the intimidates, it was not an awful one either. Talking about other metas for a second, I am almost done with the Pokemon Ranger shorts, so I might bring back the Pokemon Trivia and or the Guess Next Week's video post. If you have other ideas, make yourselves heard in the comments. Turns out that emulating an NPC is not a great choice, and I almost died, but fortunately Steven was there to finish off their Pokémons before I could fall. After this unexpected close call, we can grab the Dive HM, which is worse than Surf, so I will not teach it to Mudkip, and use it to reach the Seafloor Cave. Here we find the legendary Kyogre still asleep. Soon after, Archie shows up and engages in combat. The fight against him is nothing to write home about. He can hit me a couple of times, but I have nothing to worry. Our character really hoped to stop the apocalypse with this one, but the red orb activates anyway and wakes up the legendary. From here I have to recruit the help of Rayquaza to stop Groudon and Kyogre from bickering, and while I do that I am going to ask you to like, subscribe, share the video, ring the bell, and all of that stuff that every YouTuber begs for. After rescuing the planet, we can finally attempt the last gym. This one is water type, so I was not sure how it would go. Sure, they don't have any super effective moves against us, but the same is true for me. Ultimately, we traded some hits back and forth, but my HP did not get that low in the process, so that's the last badge in our pocket too. This is great because it gives me a bit of hope for the champion, since he uses water types too. Now that we have the ability to use all of the TMs in the region, we can embark on the journey through Victory Road. Here, as usual, we find Wally, who challenges us to a fight. His team is kinda strong for us, but thanks to my many levels I have over his team, this turned out to not be that big of a deal. I'm not sure why I used a rollout, but the fact that it was enough to defeat him proves that it is a great move that should not be slept on. Gardevoir took a little longer because of the potions, but it's not important. Instead, let's jump straight to the league. I tried to start it at the level I was at, but failed miserably against Sidney. After a couple of losses, I gave up and went leveling. It took a while, but I came back at level 88. A bit of an odd number, but that's high enough to reach 100 with candies if necessary. With some more base power under our belt, we can make short work of Sidney. I also taught Ice Beam, not Cream, to Mudkip, since it will be useful in a couple of spots. Next up is Pheobe, and unfortunately one Surf is not enough to defeat her lead Pokemon, so I got hit by a course and eventually died. The second attempt goes a bit better, simply because they are not scripted to always use curse on turn 1. That would have been a problem in many runs. The rest of her team is slightly less dangerous. The only thing that kinda worries me is the second Dusclops, because I am not sure if it knows Thunderbolt. I don't think it does, since it opted for Shadow Ball. After winning the second match of the Elite Four, it's time to take on Glacia. For her, I kept rollout all this time, since I know it's a very good move against her. I should have equipped a Cherry Berry, because the only thing that can stop me is a paralysis from a Body Slam, but I forgot about it. Fortunately, even though I have been hit a couple of times, the 30% chance did not proc. I had to restart it against Walrein, since it only lasts 5 turns, but it's not like there are any PP issues. Drake is the last fight before the champion. I was not too worried about him, because I have Ice Beam, but he could still be annoying. I was not sure if I would be fast enough to outspeed Salamence and Flygon, and sure they can't defeat me in one hit, but if the damage starts to add up, it could end the attempt. I must have had a good speed IV because the only thing to move before me is Salamence, so in the end this fight was a lot easier than what I anticipated. Finally, we arrived at the champion. I tried the fight against him without using the candies a good number of times, but even though it was kinda close a couple of times, I always ended up losing. After 10 or so resets, I finally gave up and used the rare candies to increase my level to 100. This way I should have just a bit more power to get me through the finish line. Even at max level I lost once, but that was just bad luck. The next attempt is the successful one. I did not have any particular strategy for this one, and that's probably part of the reason why I lost so many times. I wanted to use rollout since the damage can get very high, but since Whiscash resists it, he can often stop me. Instead, I used Return for almost all of his Pokémons, since it too has a lot of power, and when Gyarados came out, I started rolling. It took a couple of hits, and I was worried about Hyper Beam, but in the end it worked out in my favor, so that's how Mudkip became champion. Turns out that Mudkip had the least amount of resets and the lowest time of the trio. I was not expecting that one. Thank you for watching, I hope you liked the video. Please remember to like, subscribe, share, etc. Also leave a comment with any video ideas or feedback. See you tomorrow actually. Bye!